What's up guys, Reese here from reese3d.com. In this tutorial, we're going to build this hammer in Maya. If you take a closer look, right in the middle we have more of a squarish shape, but when it goes out, we basically have a octagon shape, 8-sided polygon. Okay, and we have some little details going on in the handle, and that's it. So let's build it from the beginning. Okay, so we'll start with a cube as we always do. So I'll go ahead and choose File, New, don't save. All right, so let me get my cube either from the shelf that we have here just by clicking on this, or we can go to Create menu and choose Polygons, Cube. So that's fine. Now this is going to be the center area, and then I have to create the octagon shape that is going to be in the sides. So because we're going to just create one side and then make a mirror to the other side, I'm just going to add one edge loop right in the middle so that it'll be easy for us to divide it later. We can also do that later, but let me do it now itself. So I want to add one subdivision here, I think for the width. Yes, that's fine. And now let me create the octagon shape, and then we'll try to merge those two things together. So for creating the octagon shape, I'm going to use a cylinder. Okay, so we have a cylinder here. I'm going to rotate this exactly 90 degrees. Okay, and I want to make this cylinder into an octagon. So for the subdivision axes, we have 20 here. So let's make this 20 into 8. So there we go, we have an octagon now. I'm going to just bring this out by using my move tool. There you go, and leave some sufficient space in between them. Now what I have to do is I have to create a blend between these two shapes. Okay, so it's going to be a few steps that we have to do to get that final look. So first thing that I'm going to do is I have to get rid of this divisions here just to make that as one single plane. So for doing that, I'm going to choose my subdivision cap and make it 0. So that's fine. So next thing that I have to do is I have to make this top area to be flat instead of just cornered like this, right? So that we will have basically easy connection between this top shape and the shape that we have here. So for doing that, I'm going to just choose my rotation tool and rotate it. I can actually look it from a different point of view, so that'll be easier for us. So I'm going to my side view here, and I'll press number 4 to basically see both the square and the octagon shape that we have here. So I'll select this and rotate it, okay, just in the y-axis here. All right, so that's going to be approximately there, but there's a little issue here, so I'll try to give a manual value here. This is going to be roughly 22.5. let's try that. Yes, that's correct. So now we have this shape and this shape aligned in the same way. Now that's not enough, because we want to have the same number of divisions in both these objects to make sure that we have a proper blend between them, right? So this face is this, or this side is going to basically match up with this one. This is going to match up with this one. This is going to match up with this one, and this is going to match up with this one. But what we need to do is we need to figure out some faces between these, and this corner here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one edge for each of those corners. Okay, so for doing that, the easiest way is to add something called bevel. Okay, so I'll just go to edge mode. Okay, I'll double click on this, so that selects both these edges. Double click on this to select both these edges. Double click on this to select both these edges, and making sure that I'm pressing the shift key while double clicking on these things. If you don't press shift, the previous selection will be lost. Okay, so make sure that you hold shift and then double click so that we have a selection of all these sides. Okay, now I'm going to show you in all the 4 views so that you will know exactly what's happening between here. Okay, so in the perspective view, we just have the cube here, and watch what happens here. What we need is we need to add more faces here, right? So I'll choose Shift right click and choose Bevel Edge. You see what happened? Now previously we just had a perfect square. Now we have added these extra faces there. Okay, so that will help us to basically blend these two shapes together. That's fine. Now I don't want it to be so big. I want it to be a bit smaller. So what I'll do is I will just go to these options here. So this is the bevel options, and I want to reduce this fraction value. I'm using just my left mouse button just to adjust that, and I think that looks good. Yes, so that's fine, so that we have the center area to be more like a boxy shape, and the bigger area here, this is going to be more of a octagonal shape. That's fine. Okay, so now all we have to do is we need to basically connect this shape and this shape. That looks good. So before we merge them, we need to basically combine them into a single object, because now you can see we have this as a separate object and this as a separate object. So let's shift select both of them, or click and drag to select both of them. Okay, and press shift and right click and you can choose combine here. Now keep in mind, all these tools that I'm showing you here, just by pressing shift key and accessing these tools, you can also find them here, okay, in the menu as well. So it's up to you, whichever option that you want to choose, whether you want to use the shift right click or you want to take it from the menus. You have the freedom to do so. So I'll go to mesh, and here I can also choose the same combine tool, which is the same option that we get by pressing shift and right click. Okay, so click on this combine. There you go. Now they are one object. So if I just click on this one also gets selected. If I click on this one also gets selected. Very good. Now what we need to do is we need to combine these two shapes into one blend. Okay, so we need to just select face. Okay, right click, select face, click on this one and shift click on this one. So if I press 4, I can show you that we have both these shapes selected, right? So what we need to do now is we need to basically create a blend between them to make them as connected objects. Okay, so for that, shift right click. Again, the same options you will also find in the menu, so you have the freedom to do whichever method that you like. Okay, so let's go ahead and find the option that says bridge faces. Okay, so click on it, boom, so we get a connection between them, right? So if you want to keep it just straight flat like this, you are welcome to do so, or we can create a smoothness between them. Okay, so for creating a smoothness, first we need to change this curve type from linear to blend. Okay, so you can see that we have a smooth connection between them, and we can just increase the amount of smoothness that we have between them just by adjusting this taper value. So click with your left mouse button and drag. You can actually adjust it to whichever way you like, right? So I want to keep it like that. I want it to go down a little bit and then go up further. Okay, so click and drag a little bit more. You can make it as extreme as you want, or you can keep it as subtle as you want. I think that's fine. Perfect. Now let's just go ahead and smooth it and see how it looks. Okay, if I press 3, boom, it becomes more like a rounded shape, right? So that's because that's what it does when we smooth an object, right? So we want to smooth it, but still we want to make it more like a hard surface, right? So like a hammer. So for doing that, we need to add a lot more divisions here. Now, before I add some divisions here, I just want to delete this one side so that we can just add the divisions and just simply duplicate it to make the complete shape. So I'll go to face mode here. I'll select all these guys and delete them. That's it. So we have just the center and everything that is in the right side of the center. Okay, so now let me just go ahead and choose face here. Sorry, not face. We need to go to edge mode. Okay, so double click on this edge. So it selects all of them. Double click on this edge, selects all of them. Now, if I double click on this one, it won't work because there's no continuous edges. So we need to manually select all these guys one by one. All right, so we also need to select these horizontal ones, but let's just do it just for the vertical ones first, and then we can do the horizontal one later. okay, so that you will get a better picture of what actually happens when we do this adding these edges. Okay, so I'll press shift right click, and this time we're going to choose something called bevel here. Okay, same bevel that we used earlier as well. So click on that, so that adds two sets of edges in both the sides, and we can reduce this fraction value so we can keep it a bit more closer. Okay, so the more closer we keep it, the more sharper or hard surface it becomes. Okay, so that's fine. I'm going to add one segment at least. Yeah, that'll make it nice. Let's just press 3 and see how that looks. You can see we have a nice hard surface here. Now it looks cylindrical because we did not add the horizontal edges, right? So let's just select that, press 1. Okay, so now let's just add these horizontal edge loops as well. Okay, so double click on this one. Okay, so that selects all those edges. Press shift, double click on this one, so it selects all of these. Press shift, double click on this one, 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 and there it is. So we've selected all of them, and we'll choose shift right click and choose Bevel Edge here. Okay, so now again we can just reduce the fraction a bit, maybe 0.3 should be fine, I guess. And we'll add one segment there as well. Let's go to press 3 now. There you go. We have the final look of one side of the hammer, right? So it looks as smooth as it requires to be, and it also looks like a hard surface. All right, so now that we have created one side, we can just make a copy to the other side as a mirror. Okay, so for doing the mirror, we have to go to mesh, and there we have mirror geometry. Let's go to the options here. Okay, and here we have to choose the direction where we want to make the copy. Okay, so in our case we have the object in facing the x-axis, and it's actually positive x-axis, and we have to make a mirror to the negative x-axis. So here I'm going to choose the -x. Now this might be different for your computer, because depending on which axis you have created the object, you need to check which axis your object is facing, and you need to choose the right option here. Okay, so now let's click on mirror here. Boom, so we got the copy in the other side. That's perfectly fine. All right, so we have one side to be ready, and I think the side looks too big. Maybe I'll just select all these vertices, and all these vertices, make them a bit smaller. Use my scale tool. Yeah, I think that looks better. All right, so once that is done, now we can create the handle. Okay, so let me just pull this up like so. Let me just turn these things off. Okay, good. So now for creating the handle, I'm going to use a cylinder, and I can just change some parameters here. I'll increase the height, okay, and make the reduce the radius. So let's say 0.5, 0.2, 0.2 looks fine. And then I want to, actually I can keep this down so that it'll be easier for us to create the other stuff that we have as well. Okay, so let's just keep it there. So select him and go to options here. I also want to add some divisions for the height, okay, because we'll need to smooth it out. So I'll make it, I think 8 should be fine, I guess. Yes. Now, if you're wondering how I'm changing this number, I'm using my middle mouse button. Okay, so choose the label here and use the middle mouse button in the viewport, and that will actually change those values here. Okay, so let's just make it 8. That's fine. And I also want to make some extrude here. Okay, so before I do the extrudes, I want to get rid of this cap division, so I'll make it 0. That's fine. Go to face, select this bottom face, and select the top face by pressing the shift key. Okay, so now we have both of these faces selected. Now whatever extruder that I do for one side, it is automatically going to do it for the other side as well. So that's a Good thing here. So I'll press Shift right click and choose Extrude. Okay, it selects the top. So whatever change that I'm going to do the top, it is also going to happen to the bottom, right? So that's fine. Let's just go ahead and focus on the top area. Okay, so I'll choose this cube here and I want to make this bigger. Okay, and maybe I'll just pull it up a little bit so that we have a little bit of angle here. And I want to do one more extrude, pull it up. Now whatever change that I'm doing here is also getting affected here. Okay, so that's fine. So just changing one side, it is also affecting the other side. So keep it like so and extrude one more time, and this time I can make it smaller here. That's it. Okay, so let's try to press 3 and see how it looks when it is smoothed. It doesn't look like a hard surface, right? So we want to make it a bit more hard surface here. So for doing that, I'm going to press 1 once again. And I'm going to go to edge, double click on this edge, double click on this edge, double click on this edge. Okay, and I will also, maybe I'll just choose this top, maybe not, no need. Let's just go to the bottom here, and I also want to do the same thing here. So by pressing Shift key, I'm adding this selection. Oops, Control is it, Control is it. Okay, double click on this one and also double click on this one. Okay, so both in the top and in the bottom, right? And now I can apply a bevel edge here. Okay, now watch what happens when I go closer. I can show you exactly what's happening here. So I can adjust this fraction value so that I can decide how I want the edges to act. Okay, so I want to make them just one more division here so that it will look more like a hard surface here. So let's press select, press 3. Yep, that's exactly what I wanted. Okay, that's it. So let me select here. And maybe I'll just adjust a little bit, or I can select this guy. Goes to the component mode. Let's just make sure that we are in the object mode. There you go. So let's just keep it right there. All right, so now all we need to do is we need to add the spiral, okay, for the handle. So for adding the spiral, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the create menu, and there we have polygon primitives and helix. Okay, so all we need to do is adjust the height. Okay, so increase the height basically, and I also need to reduce the width, radius. Okay, so I think radius can be like 0.2, too much, 0.1, maybe 0.5, no, 0.05. Okay, and I have to reduce the width here, so let's say 0.1, 0.5, yeah, 0.6, I guess. Let's just check if it is touching. Yeah, that's fine. And now I can increase the number of coils. So instead of 3, let's make it 5, 6, 7. I think that's fine. Okay, now based on your requirement, you can just adjust it to as many as you want, as thick as you want, or as thin as you want. Okay, so I think I'll make it 0.04, a bit thinner, 0.03, yeah. And so I also need to reduce the width, 0.5. Yes, so that's just touching there. And I can also adjust the height here just to make sure that it touches the bottom. That's it. I think that looks fine. Press 3 just to smooth it out. Yes, that looks nice. Now all I can do is just select all of them, and I can actually make a group of it instead of just combining. Okay, so press Ctrl G, so that makes a group. I can name it as hammer, and I can just go to edit, delete all by type, history, just to clean up the file and pull it up above the grid. All right, so that's our model finished. Alright guys, so that completes this tutorial. See you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.